Alrighty everybody, backyard scrapping here. We've got a little package to open. This is actually from Derek. It is a job refine. So let's open her up and see what Derek sent us. Oh, that's a nice heavy box. Make sure we got nothing else in here. Set that off to the side. We were actually talking about this via email. He has this container of, another box is set off, of all kinds of silver contacts. Some small stuff in there too. Looks like it was ground off. But anyway, what we're going to do, it's pretty heavy, but we're going to go ahead and, what I'm going to do, I don't know if you can see these very well. It's all different types of contacts. Some look like they've tried to melt them, or somebody tried to melt some of them. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and separate all the like contacts. In other words, I'm going to pull all the squares, I'm going to pull all these, and what we're going to actually do is, I'm not going to do these all at once. I've been learning the best way to do contacts is to do the like contacts together. So I'll separate all this stuff out, and then what we'll do is we'll do them in those individual batches. I don't think this scale is going to be enough to weigh this with the jar. Let me see if my other scale will weigh it. It may or may not. Okay, now I can weigh them properly. I couldn't find a little tub, but anyway, I got a little tub now, so we're going to turn this on. We are zeroed out. Now I can pour this in here. So without the jar, I am showing 4 pounds, 7 5/8 ounces. So let me write that down. 4 pounds, 7 5/8 ounces. 4 pounds, 7 5/8 ounces. And in grams, let me put these back in here. Weigh them in grams now, because I usually work in grams. It makes it easier for me to figure stuff. Turn that on again. Set this in grams. And I am showing 2,030 grams. So 2,030 grams. So we've got 2 kilos plus 30 grams. Alrighty guys, when I get these separated out, we will get back at you and I will show you what each batch is going to consist of. And that will be that. And then we'll get started on this refine. Alright guys, back at you in a bit. Alright everybody, so in order for us to get started on this refine, the first thing we're going to have to do is go through all these and separate them out. So I'm going to look at them. I'm going to see which ones are alike or similar. And we are going to go from there. So if you'd like to tag along with me for a little while I do this, I can time lapse it, which I'll pretty much have to do because otherwise we'll be here for a century. And like I said, some of these look like they tried to melt them. That's a different one. Those two are the same. These are the same over here as these, but these are thicker, so we're going to keep them in a separate category. Those are going to be Rex, so those will go there. That is that kind, so those will go there. The main thing is I know a lot of people don't take the time to do this, but I do, because I never want to run into a situation again where I have an entire batch contaminate that I have to redo. So, yeah, this takes a while to do, but as far as I'm concerned, it's very well worth the effort. These are actually been attempted to be melded and stuck together. That is a thinner variety. Goes there. And a lot of times, I know I've said it before, but a lot of times people will attempt to melt contacts, and the reason they don't have any success with doing that is because the contacts, some of the contacts that they're trying to melt are actually tungsten. And tungsten is not going to melt. And in fact, I even said it before in other videos that if you attempt to melt the silver off of the tungsten and don't stop when the silver comes off, continuing to try to melt the entire batch of material down, what ends up happening is you actually end up vaporizing some of your silver. And that is not good. So far we are looking at several different types of contacts here. We actually have a square type, two types of squares, another rectangle, and a little bitty rectangle. So we've got all different kind of stuff in here. Another little type of rectangle, and then some squares. So I know this probably is ridiculous to a lot of people, but like I said, to me it is not. When you've had a whole batch contaminate and you end up having to use double the acid to recover your material, and that's out of my pocket, which means at that point that I would have to do that, I am absolutely making no money. So I take the time to do this, because if I make a mistake, it's not the customer's fault, it's my fault. Or if something happens during the refine, it's my fault. So therefore, yeah, I may have to take a little extra time doing this, but in the long run, it may save me quite a bit of money. Okay guys, as you can see, we have broken our contacts down into groups. Let me set this camera. In here, this is all the, I guess you would call solder type stuff or melted drops of whatever. We will process that probably, and this stuff that has stuff where they're fused together or stuck together, we'll probably do that as a group. I know for sure these are tungsten, so we will do those completely separate from the group. We have enough here to do a single lot. We probably have enough of these type to do a single lot. I may group up these smaller discs. Our rectangles are here and our squares are here. This is all the little U shapes. We'll probably, and there's about 3 different sizes of them, but we will probably, these to me I think look like they're going to have a little more copper in them, so we'll probably do those as a group. And then we just got little oddball lots. You know, these are just some that don't match up to anything, some that don't match up to anything, and so on, which we'll probably just throw in a group, you know, in a small group. But I want to try to keep, you know, the lots as close as possible to one another, you know, like doing all these at once, just in case we have any problems, like, you know, where we had all that lead and all that whatever. Now, I do see a lot of lead or a lot of solder on some of these, a lot of tin, so we're going to lose some material there. But all in all, it looks like a pretty good lot. From what I can see, I'm not positive yet. I do believe that this is all the tungsten, so that's a good thing. Okay, guys, I've broken this down into batches now. So very quickly, from what I'm expecting to be the worst to the best yield, after putting everything on the super fine scale, or the super accurate scale, we have 2,025.4 grams to start with, which my big scale, you know, is accurate within, you know, a quarter ounce or whatever, and it weighed them out at 2,030. So we're in line anyway with our weight. I expect the tungsten to be the worst yield, but from what I could see, we only had about 69.5 grams of what I think are tungsten, or what I know. These I know are tungsten. I don't believe there's any other tungsten in here, so I expect the worst yield from that. This is the mixed stuff that was kind of melted together, and a lot of solder and a lot of other stuff in there. There's 103 grams of stuff in there. I don't expect a great yield from that. Next, and only because these appear to have a lot of solder on them still, and in general they look like the bases are more copper. So this is the U-shaped ones. I'm not expecting this to be, I expect this to be the third, you know, in the worst of the yields. So there's 443.8 grams there. This is all the squares and rectangles, 576.2 grams there. I expect an average to good yield out of those. 614 grams of the mixed rounds. This was the thick ones, and then all the other little, you know, different shape rounds, but 614.4 grams there. I expect a good yield out of that because they're fairly clean, not a lot of solder. And then this one I actually expect the best yield out of. It's 217.6, and there's very little solder on these. I mean, these are actually all pretty clean, so I think they're actually going to percentage-wise yield the most. But that's from worst to best. So that's what we got. We're going to do these in individual batches. I'm going to keep them grouped up. That's our total weight, and I'll get back to the rest of the video right quick and end this one out. So there you go, guys. Right, that's how we're going to break it down and do it. So we will get back at you in the next video. This was basically our unboxing, our weighing and separation. I will weigh each batch that I'm going to do beforehand, you know, and I'll go through each batch with you. But we're not going to just throw this all in at once. Like I said, I know a lot of people do that, but I have, you know, done that before where I had something bad in, you know, and it was just a little bit that was bad, but it ended up that I had to end up redoing the entire batch. And as it stands, for what it usually costs me in acid, if I have to do that, at that point I make nothing. I mean, I'm never going to get paid for my time. None of us do. But at that point, I'm actually at a break-even point just with acid. So this has to go right the first time. So that's why I take the time to do this. Alrighty guys, we'll get back at you in the next video when we start our first batch of refining. I just haven't decided which one it's going to be yet. So y'all take care. We'll see you in the next one.